we got there in the end, and also, Ailey, in response to your Mike Wazowski thing earlier, I've just realised why we don't use the logo on that side, because the thing doesn't come up properly. So I just noticed it in the start there. I was like, damn it, the logo's still there. But yeah, apologies for the delay getting on tonight, guys and girls. There were some issues with. Chesney saying we need a new battery and whole watch. Yeah. We're just having some minor technical issues. We have resolved as much as we can. So we're here, finally, with Ian from Viper Tactical, and also with many things in the past.
Well, that sounds so dubious, doesn't it? Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so just a brief, before we go into the nitty-gritty of it, if you could just give a quick sort of 30-second introduction about yourself.
Oh, crikey. Well, I'm Ian. I'm 55. I'm 5'10". Second pair of days. One not very careful owner. Been in Airsoft for 32 years. Starting off as a player and then going through various bits and pieces that no doubt will come on to about in a while, to where I am today, heading up the Viper brand, which was something that a few years ago I never thought I'd be doing, but I'm really glad I am. It's great.
I was going to say, having sort of come across you personally in a previous life with Badge Attack, you obviously there was a few things which we'll come on to later, and you sort of gave it up for a while and then came back in through Viper, sort of seemingly from nowhere to us from the outside.
Yeah, well, again, when Badge Attack closed, which was an issue that was sort of forced on me at the time, and something I definitely didn't want to do, but it came to a point where Badge Attack was no longer viable. So we'll come on to that, I'm sure, a bit later on. And after being in for all that time, and I thought, you know what, I've had a really good run. I've been in Airsoft for how many years it was at the time. This was 2017. I've had a really good run of it. I've enjoyed the vast majority of it. Perhaps my time's done. So I went and did something completely different for 3.5 years. Worked for a company called Green Retreats, who was a company that was based on where Blue Streak Airsoft and the Badge Attack shop was back in the day. And I was building garden offices and garden gymnasiums and all that kind of stuff. So it's something I'd never ever done, because I am not a DIY person at all. So I did that for three and a bit years, and then I got a phone call out of the blue from the guys saying, "Look, there's been some changes at Viper. We want somebody that's got military experience, some security experience, has worked in retail, has run events, knows about Airsoft. Would you want to come on and head up Viper as a brand and sort of take it to the next level?" So I thought about it for, I don't know, maybe half a second, and said, let's have a meet, and went down and we had a chat about it all. And where I had been a Viper Platinum dealer at Badge Attack for some time, so I knew obviously how the quality of the kit was back then. When I went down to see the guys and saw what had been released in that 3-year gap that I'd been out, I was quite gobsmacked.
That's something we're going to come on to later as well. Because Viper has been a bit of a love-hate story in the Airsoft community, as Adam will know, as you know, as I know.
Yeah,
Ailey, it was probably before your time in Airsoft.
And I think that as a brand, from again, I know we're going to talk about it more in depth, but as a brand, from where it started off as 23, 24 years ago, it's unrecognisable now to what it was then. It's come on so much. But we're loving it.
Cool. So we're just going to do a quick bit of news in a second. First things first, what's everyone drinking?
Jammy Rosé.
Jammy Rosé. Red Rare in a minute. Yellowtail Rosé.
Cool.
You lucky thing, you. Well, I hate to be the party pooper, but I'm fasting because I've got a blood test at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, boo!
Yeah.
How inconsiderate of the NHS.
Yeah, I'm proper dummy in mouth, and this going on till 9 o'clock. It's way past my bedtime now,
Possibly even later. It depends how much you get talking.
Yeah.
I've got the classic Kraken and Coke, and I've also got the Fireball to keep
and then
me
onto the Fireball.
going. No, this is literally this podcast.
Good grief.
We've only done what 2 episodes of that, and that's gone.
Tries you to drink.
Well, if anybody's listening that knows me, whether of old or of new, will know that Strongbow or Captain Morgan's Spicy, I will drink until the ends of time.
Lovely.
Morgan Spice is always a good shout.
Yeah, well, I've got my good mate Billy Gumbrel to thanks for that. So yes.
Cool. So just a quick bit of news we've got this year, because our executive research desk has inconsiderately gone away for business for a week. So his input to the news was it's hot in Sweden. The news, it's not good about the new shopping centre site.
Well, not good news for you.
Yeah, not good news for me. So the last episode we came on, we were really excited with a new shopping centre, and we were laughing and joking about how a certain site owner that banned me for just leaving a review of his site and the shit show that it was banned was going to take it over, and now has. So unfortunately, I won't be able to tell you anything about the shopping centre because First and Only have it.
Oh,
so
and where's this at?
This shopping centre in Walsall.
Oh, okay. I hadn't even heard about that.
Yes,
it's only surfaced in the last sort of couple of weeks or so, but it's now officially a First and Only site.
Rift have got a new CQB site coming. I've just remembered. Up in is it Huntingdon? It's Cambridge way, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't think Tony from Rift had the chance to actually announce it publicly himself. I think it came out in the press before.
Yeah, the BBC got hold of it, didn't they?
Yeah. So,
but let's face it, Tony will run that spot on. He's such a massive, great guy. And Rift, we're big advocates of Rift. I've known Tony for 25 years, and I supported him when we were at Badge Attack, and we still do a lot of stuff for him now. I'm at Shifty Rift next weekend, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be really good.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a fair and the fact there's a fair portion of his marshals have come from Badge Attack. I
was going to say, Bonsai, who you used to work with, does he still work for Rift?
Yeah, Banzai's still there. Yeah, well, me and Banzai go back even further. Banzai was back with me back in Airsoft Adventure days, back in the mid 90s. So yeah, and bear in mind, he lived next door to me in Germany when we were both in the army. Although I was a tanky and he was I can't say this, he was Royal Hussar. So I won't say Donkey Walloper for sake of upsetting everybody. but yeah, so me and Banzai go back years. Yeah. And Steve Walker that's there as well. He was one of our marshals at Badge Attack. But he has such a great set of people and has such a great following with Rift as well, and deservedly so.
South Hearts Airsoft saying they're working on a CQB site. Talks are ongoing as well. Oh, actually, South Hearts Airsoft, there's a charity game that we will all be attending. Me, Kerry, Adam and Ailey are all going to go to. So we're looking forward to that. Kerry asking if we're all banned. No, Adam's not, Ailey's not. It's just me and Keith. You're not. You're definitely not because you weren't there. You're not guilty by association. But yeah, looking forward to.
We'll get a warm welcome though. To be honest.
Just don't tell him you're with us. You'll be fine. You probably don't watch this anyway. You watch him pop up in the comments now. You watch it happen. So yeah, looking forward to that charity game. We're looking forward to playing at South Hearts as well. They're doing some great things down there. Still early days for them, and they're trying to get up and going properly, but they seem to have a strong following with those going. So we need to get some promo stuff as well. They're saying we need to bring some stuff, so we need to
We've
get
been discussing that anyway, haven't we? So.
Yeah.
If anyone knows a decent company, I think they sent me one, but if anyone else knows someone as well, so we can do some price comparisons. Like
recommendations, always.
Yeah, I need to go like full on purchasing department. I need to get 3 quotes and then I go for the cheapest one.
We need patches, we need a flag.
Stickers.
As long as you don't go like MOD procurement, so then you faff about for 5 years, make it over budget, you'll buy about 7 times and delayed on delivery.
Yeah, and then that's the thing I always laugh at when you have like, oh, it's genuine mil spec, and all the ex-army people are like, oh no, I know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. It's shocking.
If it's mil spec, it's made cheap as shit, and it will fall apart.
Gone to the lowest bidder. Yeah.
Cool. So that's really all the news we've got this week. So let's go on to you. So Badge Attack and Beyond, the story before Viper.
Crikey. How long's this show?
As long as we need it to be, buddy.
All right, cool. So I was thinking about this, obviously knowing that I was coming on, and I was trying to pin down the year, and it's either 1992 or 1993 when I first came across Airsoft.
Awesome at school.
Yeah, thanks for that. That makes you feel like a whole lot better. Again, most people that know me, whether old or new, know I am. My other passion outside of Airsoft is I'm massively into hot rods, American muscle cars, and this, that, and the other. And I was home on leave, and I was working on my then sort of weekend car up at my mate's workshop, and we heard this guy turn up, who was one of our other friends that we knew, and he started to shoot us with a spring pistol out of his Ford Fiesta while we were in the workshop. No iPro, no nothing, because this is long before health and safety was even ever thought. Anyway, so after we sort of dragged him out the car and gave him a good talking to, and we also said, where the hell did you get this from? And Roger was a big into his computers, and he'd been over to this shop in Reading, and he said half of the shop was computers, another half was BB guns. So
it's a bit of an odd mixture, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
So, apparently you mean hot dogs rather than hot rods as well, by the way.
Sorry? Yeah.
Steve Walker says you mean hot dogs rather than hot rods.
Yeah, that's changed a little bit now. So we jumped in the car and we went over to see this shop. And the outside had the name of the computer shop, and then above the other side, which had an M60 and a FAMAS and stuff in the window, it was labelled as combat and tactical simulations, and it was the whole shop was run by a guy called Paul Baldock, who eventually became my business partner at Airsoft Adventures. So we got talking to him, and we arranged a day, which we did. I was working on the doors of nightclubs and that around sort of Slough and that lot. So the door crew, we all pitched it. We all sort of got together and we arranged a day where the door crew of Henry's nightclub outside Slough would take on Paul's players. So there was only 5 of them. There was only 5 of us, and he sub-rented a site of Hot Shots Paintball, who have now evolved into an offshoot of Hot Shots Paintball is Enola Gay. So they go all the way back to that time as well. So they had their paintball site at Greenham Common, the old barrack blocks there. So Paul had sub-rented this off for a day, and we did our day there, and we had such an amazing time. I rented a Top M60 for the day. That was my first airsoft gun I ever fired properly.
Bit of a monster.
Yeah, and in my first scenario, I did just about 11,000 rounds through it, and I don't think I hit anybody, but I did 11,000 rounds. And that was it. Was hooked. So over the period of time, we were just playing more, and then I was in a bit of a quandary in my life with staying in the army or going off and doing other things, and going off and doing other things wouldn't have been a particularly great ending for me. So I popped in to see Paul, because by then he'd moved from the shop in Reading to having a building at Greenham Common. And I popped in to see him because we had a great relationship, and was talking about what we were doing and what I was going to do. And he said, well, if you're going to do that, he said, how long do you think? I said, well, going to be 6 months before I go away. And he said, well, why don't you come and help me run this place? So that's what I did. I started working at Airsoft Adventures at Greenham, and we built the business up. And it was just a bit like the Wild West, because there was no distribution network for any of the guns. There was, there was kit was only surplus kit or sort of outdoor pursuits kind of kit. So yeah, iPro was like your school safety, your school science glasses, because that's all there was. There just wasn't the kit like there was. And I was talking about this with somebody today. When we got involved and Airsoft started picking up, a really good day for us on players was 20 players. We thought if we got 20 players on a day, we were made.
Yeah.
And the game fees were a lot different then as well. It was like £15 for a day's fee. And we shared the site with the guys at Paintball. It worked really well. There was the occasional firefight between paintballers and us, because we were sitting there waiting to use an area, and a paintballer comes singing across, and then they just get marmalised by high cap mags from G3s and whatnot. But it was all good for a giggle. But as the shop size started growing, we were like, where are we going to get this kit from? And
I did what to your grandmother in the house.
he has corrected that to shot your grandmother in the arms while she was gardening.
So where Paul had his computer shop, he was quite in with some guys in around the Reading area that were working in the big computer companies, Digital and IBM and that lot. And one of these guys, who was a little bit into Airsoft, they used to send him to Japan every 3 months to go and do whatever it was he did with the computer company. And we had a copy of the Japanese magazine Guns Digest, which was just pictures. Couldn't understand the words, but it was just pictures of all the airsoft guns.
So he just went, I want that one.
Yeah, and bless him, he went round all the shops. Like, he went round the airsoft shops in Tokyo, Osaka, and wherever else he was, buying this stuff at retail and then bringing it back in his suitcases. As you do. So he would rock up to us during the week after him coming back from Japan, and he'd go, "Oh, I've got this and I've got this." So we'd have all this stuff laid out, and he'd go, "How much do we owe you?" "Oh, it's like it's like £6,500." And we'd go, "Right," and you'd weigh him in, and then that was our stock holding for the next 3 months, or until we could get more stuff in. But then we started building relationships up, and we got a wholesaler out in Japan. So he would start sending bits across. But the brands back then, again, you're limited. There was no Chinese manufacturers, so it was Tokyo Marui and AEGs were the thing. There was a lot of gas stuff. Gas blowbacks were still around, but they were very limited and sort of still in their infancy. And then you had things like brands like KSC, Western Arms, who were elite. If you could afford a Western Arms pistol, yeah. Also we have Tanaka, Top, Kokusai, all these brands, which Shuri, and a lot of these brands now you just either don't hear of, or the only time I ever see them is when I look on Rare Airsoft site, and you just go, "Croc, I had one of them 25 years ago." So yeah, that was how that started, with bringing stuff in. And then I don't know, it must have been around 97ish, something like that, where the farms industry, I think, in the States was sort of was sort of suffering a little bit with bad press and threats of being banned and that lot. The real farms manufacturers starting looking at, well, hang on a minute, there's these people making replicas with our stamps on, and we're not getting any money for it. So that's when all the licensing started. And the first one that I went to, which was a signing, we went to France, and that was with a company called Les Trois Pilons, which are now called Cybergun. And they did the signing for Colt, and then it was like flood doors opening, and everybody, manufacturers and companies were scrambling to get licenses so they could then bring in the kit in and sell it sort of, legally, if you like. I mean, not that it made any difference because nobody really cared, and people were just bringing it in anyway. But it was to try and legalise that side of life, and that's when obviously Les Trois Pilons were probably the first European distributor to bring in airsoft in big quantities. So
we've got a question. We've got a couple of questions we'll come to later on the Instagram comments. I got one here. Do you remember the airsoft kits you could buy and build it yourself?
Yeah, I did. The first one of those I did was a 44 Auto Mag, which bit like this is why I don't build kits now. You know, we got people of a certain age and they have their midlife crisis and they go and build model kits. Yeah, this thing had my fingerprints all over it in the glue, so that was a bad. I don't think I ever got a BB out of it, but yeah, which is why I still don't touch guns now to repair them. I pull the trigger and magic happens.
What goes on inside there is none of your business.
Yeah, witchcraft.
You're doing better than me. I pull the trigger and everything dies.
Yeah, true.
Oh dear.
So that was sort of the start then. So
that was the sort of the start. And then Greenham Common, like we're still hearing now, Greenham Common was going to be redeveloped. So we had to move off there, and we found a site down in Christchurch called Sopley Camp. So when we got there, it had horses living on it for best part of 7 or 8 years. So me and one of the lads, we rented a house in the village just down the road called Bramsgore, and we spent all winter shoveling horse shit and making the building safe and theming all the buildings out. And eventually that became a 0-1 site for a few years when Airsoft Adventures sort of went. 0-1 took that site over, and they ran it for a few years until again it inevitably got a load of houses put on top of it. So that was Airsoft Adventures. But during that time, obviously where we were networking, and because there wasn't a lot known about airsoft, we were getting loads of people come to us, trade and films and TV, and just buying replicas and that. And I got involved with a couple who ran a company called Opal Moon Theatre and Magic, Shelley and Scott, and I got on really well with them. So when Paul, bless him, got taken really ill at Airsoft Adventures, and like I couldn't run the company on my own, so we closed that company down. That sort of left me at a bit of a loose end. Anyway, Scott and Shelley, Opal Moon Theatre and Magic, said, look, they were very well to do. They got a lot of money. We're doing lots of things, and I ended up being their close protection officer for a while. Not that I don't think there was never any real sort of threats. It was just the fact that they had both got a lot of money and attracted some unwanted attention. So I looked after them for a while, and then they had this idea about they were going to set up an airsoft shop, because obviously Airsoft Adventures had gone. So Wolf Armouries came out of that. So I headed up. There'd been a couple of guys who sort of started it off with them, and then I took that role on and took over Wolf Armouries, and that was based down in Hastings back then. And then they were moving out of that location, so I moved Wolf Armouries up to High Wycombe, which became a bit of an epicenter. So yeah, we were there for a year and a half. Lee Fields came on board, who then went and set up and ran Z Events. So, you know, Airsoft now, I look at Airsoft now, and there's so many people that are in it that can trace their origins back to
little family tree almost.
Yeah. You could almost say it's very incestuous, like Norfolk. But
where's Kerry when you need her? Where is Kerry?
Where's Kerry?
So Lee was there, you know, and redeveloped Wolf Armouries into what was then a real state of the art showroom. And again, we were bringing in brands that other people weren't doing. We were the first people, I think, to bring Classic Army into the UK when the patent ran out on Marui's hop system. Because obviously Classic Army at the time were only doing spares, and then literally I think the patent ran out midnight on December 31st, 1999, and by January the 5th we were selling fully built Classic Army rifles, which I think hadn't been put together perhaps with the same amount of loving care as they should have been at the time. And they started off really rockily, shaky with their quality control, and they were pretty poor. So everything basically had to be stripped down and fettled with to make it work properly, which I'm glad still happens today with brands, and it wasn't just a thing. Everything's got a learning curve. So that was me at Wolf Armouries. I then started working with a company called Team Frontier, which was a corporate entertainment company doing training for companies, team building, that kind of stuff. And the guys that ran that were all from a certain place down near Herefordshire. And because I've been supplying them kit, when I left Wolf Armouries, I went and saw them. They said, "Oh, well, what are you going to do?" So I said, "I haven't really got an idea yet. I might just go back into the security world." And they said, "Well, look, you know the kit. Why don't you come work for us?" So I joined them late 2001, and on and off for the next up until sort of 2010. Team Frontier, although it wasn't my mainstay, it was like, we were doing courses as men courses would come up, we'd all meet up and do the courses. But we did things, we had such a blast. We did shows like Max Power Live, if you remember that. We were at the Max Power. So that was up at the NEC, and we were in the arena, and we were doing vehicle anti-ambush drills 5 times a day in front of a crowd of like 1,000 people at a time. And it was all blank firers and my Range Rover. I wrecked my gearbox on that doing that. But yeah, it was all set up that, whoever the celeb was, and we had Jordan, Jackie Degg, people like that were the celebrities, and it would go over the announcement that there'd been a security threat made against them. And the lads who were our CP team would drive out, pick her up, and as they were about to drive out the arena, one of the lads had this old Mitsubishi Pajero, and of course, bear in mind what had just happened not a year before. They all dressed up in the Shermags and that lot, and AKs, and they sort of threw a blank fire grenade at one of the principal's motor, and then we were sitting in the background, all those badass buggers in the blacked out Range Rover, and we come zooming down the side, out with blank firing, full auto Mac 10s, kill all the bad guys, save the girl, jumped in the back of the Rangey, put the Union Jack up as we drove out the arena, and 1,000 people giving you a rapturous applause. It was brilliant. And then, of course, obviously, then other things happened, and we all ended up working overseas and doing bits and pieces. But then one of the guys who was at Team Frontier, Steve, he although he was never an airsoft good businessman, and he saw that there was airsoft was on the rise. So he then set up the Airsoft Armoury in Little Chalfont in 2002. So when I was coming back from abroad and whatnot, I was basically going in and sort of sharing the shop manager role with another guy, Chris, who now is one of the owners of A2 Supplies, which is what Airsoft Armoury sort of morphed into. And Chris had been a player of mine back at the Greenham days. So again, we all knew each other. And again, seeing how Airsoft was expanding, ASG, people like that were now set up and distributing. Again, mainly that was all classic Army back then. So I had that on and off really until 2009. And I just want, we've done loads with A2. We did all the IWAs, and we'd had a right old giggle. We'd worked on some films, with costume companies and that kind of stuff. And it was just a real hoot, real funny working atmosphere. And we used to have a rule of, inside the shop, if you think it, you have to say it, which started all the political non-correctness. And yeah, it was a real good fun time. And then a couple of years ago, just go, I want to do more. There were certain things that the Army didn't want to do. They weren't really interested in doing the show side or an on-site shop at a game site. And for me, that was rare. That's still where my passion was with the game sites. So me and a friend of mine, Dan, we started Badge Attack off, and we found found a building at Westcott Venture Park, just outside Aylesbury, which was an old RAF bomber command place that had become a rocket test facility after the war and had been on the super secret list, didn't appear on a map until 1993. And they still, there it is. So that was where we set up site. It took us a while to get the landlord's permission to use what ended up as Blue Streak Airsoft, which was about 30 acres with various terrain, undulating.
I was trying to, I remember that from your safety briefs, undulating.
Undulating.
I was trying to remember which part of it. Was it down in this corner here?
Oh, crikey.
That's the entrance off the roundabout.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember where it was. Yeah, down in that corner.
Yeah,
it's one of those places you went in. I only managed to get up there the once, really, just before Blue Streak went, but I could not found my way around that place if I hadn't have followed someone, because it was so easy to get lost.
Yeah, and that could cause you some problems if you drove into the wrong areas, because I say it's still got a live license for stuff, and even now there's parts of the UK space industry and rocket industry all still based up there because they can do testing. So we had a real good time. Dan again decided that he wasn't a real public person, so he went off again to do his own thing. And then a good mate of mine who I've known for years as a player, Bill, he said, "Well, I'd love to get involved in this." So me and Billy became a real strong partnership, and we like to think that we rocked the world a little bit, and just told people how it was, and so we had 5 years of having a hoot, and we did War and Peace, and we did all our own events. So it was a really, really good time. But again, Blue Streak, we knew that the landlords would eventually develop it, which they have. They flattened it all and made it a big car park to put ISO containers on it. But there you go. So we at the meantime, but we did find afterwards. It took a long time to get it pinned down. We didn't know how the business was going to pan out. Bill went and re-upped. Back up into the army again, because they realised that getting rid of him wasn't wise for them. They needed his skill sets, so he went back in to play with big tanks and that again. So we found what was it was the Army School of Languages at Beaconsfield, which, funny enough,
I'm going to share the screen again. Because This is another story to come to, but it was very short-lived. But I was so glad I managed to play it, because it was just one of those sites.
And again, I when we actually got it, I actually did a video that went on the Facebook page of me doing it, dancing an Irish jig, because I actually thought once we got that signed and sealed, I thought we're this is it. This is it. It's such an amazing site, and funny enough, I'd been based there back in the early 90s, so I knew the place well. Actually, we skirmished in what was my old bedroom for that's another story. And and we got that in the January, and we were doing really well, and it's known for it's getting a reputation for being an amazing CQB site. Plus it had all the other areas as well, and we were getting bookings all the way up until like October. ASG wanted to do their Evo owners day there, and all that kind of stuff. And
it was the Airsoft showcase as well.
Airsoft showcase.
Yeah.
And then I was, funny enough, it was a Wednesday. I was sitting not too far away from where I am now. My phone went, and I saw it was the estates manager for the site, saying that there'd been a big meeting, and they'd been basically, because they'd bought it in 2013 and hadn't done anything with it, there was a time limit on the fact that they hadn't started developing it, and if they weren't careful, they were going to have the venue, they were going to basically lose the venue, and it would get sold to somebody else who would develop it quicker. So basically I got told, so they're going to move ahead with development. So I said, okay, what's my time frame? How long have I got? And they said, it's immediate. And that's one of the few times where my sort of legs went to jelly, because I just saw the whole business just gone in a puff. Really, it was like that, and I felt quite sick to my stomach. So I said to myself, I've got bookings until like September, October, and I'm really sorry, that's just the way it is. And of course, where they tie you up with these contracts, you don't really have a leg to stand on. And you know, us being a very small niche business, taking on a multi-million-pound property development company, they could have tied me up for years in court and bankrupt me. So I walked away. I kept the shop going for a few months longer, and then had a meeting with the company accountant, who sort of said, how do you think you're doing? So I said, well, I think I'm doing all right. And he sort of said, yeah, I thought you'd say that. He said, I've done you some pie charts here. So he said, if this pie chart here, he said, you'll notice the yellow area. He said, this is when you had the site. He said, this was your profit margin. He said, and this is where you're at now. He said, you'll notice there is no yellow anymore. He said, do yourself a favour. He said, just have a fire sale, get rid of as much of the kit as possible, and walk away, which is what I did. And I say it really hurt, because that's all, you know, Airsoft had been my passion, even outside of the other work things I was doing. It was still, you know, you'd still go on Airsoft at a weekend, and it just killed my passion there and then. For it, I thought I'm done.
One thing I do remember though about that time was when you were was shutting the shop up as well, was just the love from the people that had played with you guys over the year, and the support for you guys was unbelievable.
Yeah, and again, it's funny. There's people who have been players from when I first started who are still happy birthdays to. You know, there were proper genuine friendships born out of Airsoft, and that's one of the great things I love about Airsoft. It is ageless, it's classless, it's colourless. You know, if you get on with somebody, you get on with somebody, and I've had some really, have still got some really great friends made out of the whole over the years. But yeah, Badge Attack, a lot of people love Badge Attack. I think again, part of that is because it wasn't just the venue. We always were fair with people. We didn't stand any nonsense, obviously, you know, but we were there to have a laugh. And as we said to people, look, you know, this is all just banter. There is never any offence meant by anything to anybody. It is all just purely banter. And I know people say, oh, is that thin line between banter and abuse and that? Look, we never had any of that. And I had such a great cross section of the team. You know, we covered all bases, and seeing where they've all gone on to now in their various fields is brilliant. You know, and I still get messages from old Badge Attack players going, "Oh, Ian, Ratty, we've got to go and do this. We've got to do, you know, come and do this with us." So yeah, people loved it. I think because we were just a little bit different, and we never took ourselves seriously. I mean, it was. You know, back in the early days of Badge Attack, me and Dan, who was at the time an ex-Royal Marine, and we said, we're doing all these military shows, and everybody's falling themselves to look really hard and really, oh yeah, look how alley I look, and we just wanted to take the piss out of them. So that's where the Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
So we would pitch up at all these military shows just wearing Hawaiian shirts, and they'd be random. They weren't the same. They were just random, and the more outrageous they were, the better they were. And then. I think it must have been one of the last ones. It must have been like 2016, I think. And I've gone over to another stand, and I heard one of the lads moaning because his dad, who owned the stand, was making them all wear Hawaiian shirts, and they were all the same Hawaiian shirt. And I you just don't get it. It's you know, it's just about having the laugh about it. And yeah, some people just didn't seem to get that side of it. That it's you know, it's people's leisure time that you're dealing with, and that
a lot of people take it too serious, don't they?
Yeah, you know, you want to make feel you want to give people a great day. You want smiles on faces. You want people to come back, but you want to make it different so that it's not the same as where they go and play down the road. It's, you know, they're playing games each week, or crikey, you know, you should go there because the lads are just off on one. It's and that's I think what we were known for. But we looked after people. There was never anybody that went home and said, I feel like I've had a really bad day. Well, there were two. One who gave
we don't be careful which names you mention here, because there's certain names we don't mention on the show.
There are no names. There are no names.
Okay, good.
If any of you remember our safety brief, we used to have a thing about the pyro and the no gay rule, which was basically if a pyro comes in your room, don't scream like a 6-year-old girl and run into the next room. So we've done the whole safety brief, and the whole team was standing behind the counter, and this guy come up and says, "Oh, do you take criticism?" And we're like, "Well, if it's constructive, yeah." He said, "It's about your no gay rule." And I thought, oh, here we go. And he said, "I'm not gay myself." And I sort of had to stop Bill from saying, "But I'm not sure about my boyfriend." So he said, "I'm not gay myself," he said, "but I'm happily married, but we've got a lot of gay friends and no objectors." And he said his piece, and I went, "Okay." I said, I hear what you're saying. I said, "No, I take on board what you said." I said, "However," I said, "I'll just make you aware of a few things." I said, "If you look at the team that I have to my left," and also I'm saying we got a right mixture of people, and I sort of went through the demographic of who I had there, and so I said, "You can't say I'm not diverse. We're not a diverse business." And the fact that everybody behind the counter had served, you know, for the forces, so that kind of, you know, and we got a bit up to, so that sort of gave us the right to say what we freaking like, really. So if you don't like it, you know where the door was. So he played a day, but I don't think he came back. And then also, if you remember, at Blue Streak, we had a caterer, Sandy, who was a local business. She used to do some. Well, all her food was amazing. So she would come in on Sunday morning, and she'd say, "Right, so as part of the safety brief was, right, today, today's menu is such and such." And she'd say, "Has anybody got any dietary requirements? Let her know." And she'd go and cook something different for anybody that had got like an allergy or was a vegan or whatever. Anyway, so again, we said, "Oh, what's today?" And she said, "Oh, it's pork something or other." So my head marshal pumped up. He says, "Who doesn't like pork?" And this one hand went up, and he just went, "Fuck off." Like, anyway, this guy went home and put a review on saying we were spreading Islamophobia.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And we were just like, mate, and it was all done tongue in cheek. And yes, so you know, we've met all.
You're never going to please everybody.
No. But thankfully, 98% of the people that came to Badge Attack came back, you know, because they had a good time, and we made them feel welcome. And again, like I said, you know, a lot of them are still really good mates, and we catch up at events, and you know, and hug it out from there, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned Sandy. That's one thing I do remember was it probably holds the record for the best lunch that you ever had at a site, because you got an actual full meal for lunch as part of your ticket. It was proper grub.
Yeah.
I think the day I came to Phoenix College, it was something like Jamaican jerk chicken and rice, and you had bread rolls. Like, it was full proper plate and everything. It was unreal.
Yeah,
and that was included in the cost, from memory.
Yeah. It was all included in the cost. You know, and I'm sure there were some people that did just come for the food, but they never openly admitted to that. But yeah, I'm sure there was some. You know, and her daughter Charlie, she became one of our marshals. You know, initially we nicknamed her our battery bitch. So if any of the rental guns were running out of battery on site, she had a bag full of all the spare batteries, and she'd be running around site changing people's batteries. But she became one of the marshals. Really clued up girl, very, very smart girl, and she afterwards, she joined the cadets because of what we were doing. She just liked the arm, what she thought the army was like. She went and joined Bucks Cadets. She ended up as the RSM of Buckinghamshire Cadet Force, and she went and did Sandhurst, and she's now a trained army doctor. So
awesome.
all that, yeah, and you just go, you sort of stand back, you just go, we played just a minor role in that, of just the seed feeding of the seed kind of thing. Of that was a lifestyle open to her, and she grasped that with both hands. So fair play to her. But I still see Sandy. I haven't seen her for a while, but I saw Sandy. Be last year now. I've got to touch base with her actually, and so yeah, fantastic woman, fantastic family. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to come to some of the questions we'll come to later that people have put in. So thank you for those. One here from South Hearts Airsoft. If you was to start over with a new site now, what would you do differently to back in the day?
Oh crikey! Make sure I've got a better solicitor behind me.
Make sure you've got the money to buy the place so you don't get people to close it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, again, and obviously where I deal with shops and sites now, and it's just it's a battle that's not going to get any better anytime soon, because in the southeast of England, any bit of land that's had military buildings on it is just being sold with planning. And anything that you think, well, that make a decent site is either being sold with planning, or they know what they've got and they know how they want to charge you for it. So you just go, well, how on earth can I make a living off if you're wanting that as a rental? Although the thing is in the PC world we live in, as soon as you mention what it is that you're doing, they back right off and they're not interested. In fact, we got again at Badgertac, after Phoenix College closed, we looked at a site just off the A34, and it was an underground fuel dump for Upper Hayford. And we'd had the meetings, and we'd done a presentation and done all the backgrounding and showed them what we did and everything else. And the day we went and signed the lease, we met up with the agent up there, and we'd been blackballed by one of the board, and that was it, done. And that was the day we went to sign the lease. So it's just I don't know what to say. I do feel sorry for anybody that's trying to look for sites, because it is just it is the holy grail, isn't it?
Especially CQB sites, the woodland, they can always piggyback off of a paintball site, a lot of them. It's the CQB sites that are going to be the ones that become few and far between.
Everybody loves CQB. Everybody loves CQB. And again, going back to the early days, there are only 3 commercial run airsoft sites in the UK. There was Firefight in Reading, which was they were sort of backed by a shop called Rebel Troop that was in Harris Arcade in Reading. There was us, and then you had a company called Commando First, who were up in Mansfield, who then were reborn and are still Phoenix Airsoft up in Mansfield. Dave Grogan, so we were the only 3 commercial running airsoft sites back in the day. So it's just great to see how it's all grown. But I think the difference now is I'd research more and try and get an investor in just to buy the land outright, and then at least then you know you're going to be safe as long as you're working with the investment.
Rob's also come in here saying that he wants to thank Ian for his support with Airsoft World. He loves people with a passion.
That's brilliant. I only met Rob at NAF last year. And as you guys are quite aware, I'm not the most tech savvy of people, so it's taken me a while. But again, with all that's going on with Meta and all the social media network, Airsoft World is a route that we're going down with Viper. It's again, because you're talking to the very core people that you're trying to get to. And you're not going to have the trolling of what you're doing is wrong, and you shouldn't be promoting use of guns, because you won't get that, because the very people that are on that system are people that are your customers. So no, Rob's a great guy, and I hope his move went well as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's quite some move to say the least.
Yeah.
We've got I think we've sort of gone into.
Are you going to bring us on to question? Are you doing NAF this year?
Yes,
we
are. Yeah. Funny enough, I had to email them today to do with some of the stuff that obviously because we provide prizes for the raffle and for the quiz night and that lot. So I was just pinning some of that down today. I was looking at that yesterday on numbers. Obviously, there's been a whole load of hoo-ha, which I won't comment on. I think it's still a great event, and again, when for me personally, even outside of Viper, for me, NAF is 70% the social and the networking and meeting new people and having a laugh, and 30% about the airsofting. I'm not quite sure that's the way that that it's meant to be, but that's how I've always dealt with NAF. It's you can dip your toe in and out of the game, and I've always had a good time down there. So, and again, just going back again, Dan, who owns 01, I sold him his very first gun when he was a teenager. Well, via his dad, obviously. Yeah, when I was at Sockley Camp. So again, another one.
At least you've managed to talk to him.
Yeah, I like Dan. I like Dan.
Well, you know why he's not talking to us, Adam? It's because we're not going.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's another story for offline. We're not going to air that here. No. Dan Chesney's trying to bait us in the comments, but I'm ignoring him at the moment.
Oh, bless. I did see that they obviously had a bit of a rethink, and they've now made it the same price as early bird, normal, and late booking, all now the same price. Which is great. So they have listened to feedback, which again, if you do that, then at least you're doing something. You're not just sticking your head in the sand.
So moving on to Viper, because I've just realised we spent. I told you you'd feel the time easy.
Oh, crikey!
So Viper's history was the early days were very hit and miss, weren't they? Let's say.
Okay, I think... so if you take it back originally, the company that is Viper as you know it basically started off over 40 years ago, and it was doing military surplus. That's what the company that we all now know as Viper. That's what it was started off doing, because obviously there was all the troops in there was 100,000 troops in Germany, and obviously turnover of kit, and the British Army was so much bigger, and they were picking up military surplus kit, and then that was being fed into the surplus shops, because back then again every town had a surplus shop or a market stall selling surplus. So surplus was the thing that you didn't really buy new combat clothing because you never sort of saw it. So and out of that it sort of got, oh well, can you make this and can you make that? So at the time the company had some seamstresses and a couple of big commercial sewing machines. So they started doing some adaptations and some bespoke bits of kit for various people, as well as doing the surplus and the show circuits and that went with that. And then it got to a point where it was like, well, we're now being asked more about doing stuff than just selling the surplus. So the guys had an idea about just making tactical kit and some clothing. Now, back then, I can remember the day I first met them. This was at the Airsoft Army in Little Chalfont. These two guys rumbled in and sort of introduced themselves and said, "Hi, we're from, and this is what we're looking at doing. Would you guys be interested?" So we started, as you do, we just started rifling through their bag and oh, this is all right, this is all right. And at the time, the only sort of things that you could get were Black Hawk holsters, Safari Land, 511. It was all sort of early days of that, and obviously that was just such mega money. To buy, and from a business point of view, the margins on that kit back then weren't particularly great either. So when they were coming in and saying, look, we can make this holster and it will retail, it'll cost you X, and it's retailing at that, and you look at it, you just go, so from a shop point of view, you just go, well, there's more margin in that than there is selling one Black Hawk holster. And the fact that they'll have another £30.
My first ever holster was a Viper holster.
So, well, yeah.
Because it was the only thing I could get hold of at the time. Hold of this stuff.
So basically, that and they, you know, and the guys said at the time, everybody at the time was falling over themselves to be, oh, we're the best tack gear brand in the world, you know, and nobody had actually thought, well, not everybody can afford the best tack gear in the world. Let's do. They identified the fact that there was a gap in the market for decent, affordable, and usable kit across the board, and that's really where the Viper brand came from.
And that's still the case nowadays as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, you know, price points have changed because obviously costs have gone up, and the fact that Viper as a brand has evolved over those 20 odd years, and we've learned an awful lot, and we're still learning now. You know, I was in a meeting this afternoon, and we were going through some stuff and going for where we are with R&D on some of our new products and that. And again, some of them will hopefully come to fruition. Some of them may fall by the wayside because, again, certainly in this day and age, we are living in it where everybody is pound conscious. So there's no point making it if nobody's going to buy it. You could have the best bit of kit in the world, but if nobody's going to buy it because it's too expensive, you're done for, aren't you? So it's trying to make.
This is something that Dan's asking in the question. So how do you stay competitive against brands like 8-Field and Combat Gear?
So it is tough, and again, I think everybody's got their place in the market. Combat, I think, is at the level we're at, and I'd like to think that we are in a tier or a couple of tiers above that. But again, you know, Combat's got its place because it does their kit for the price and makes it affordable for guys that are getting into the sport and want a lot of kit and haven't got the perhaps the money to spend on it. I think then now is whereas Viper was there 15, 20 years ago, people, and when I go around sort of the airsoft shops and the tack gear shops and that lot, Viper is now like the next brand up. So people will start off with Combat and 8-Fields, and they see Viper as a brand to aspire to on their journey up. And a bit like when Viper was at the entry level, people looked at Warrior Assault Systems. That was the best that you were going to get for airsofting because it had the crossover. And we're now in this, I'm not going to say we're Warrior, but we are, you know, we are on that sort of same sort of tip with crossing over into, we do an awful lot of crossover into real world stuff applications as well, which when everybody says, oh yeah, it's just for airsoft, and you just go, yeah, okay, mate. Oh my God.
There we go. My original Viper belt, rig, and holster. And the holster you can't see, but
complete with the 90s
with the classic Army MP5. I'll have you know.
There you go. So
about 20 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. I've not seen one of those vests for a while.
That was Urban Assault in Peterborough.
Crikey! Again, another great site that's long gone now, and
you can tell by the age of the cars in the picture how old.
Yeah.
So you know, again, I think we know where, or I'd like to think we know where we are in the market, and where we sit in the level of brands that are out there. Again, 8-Fields, I haven't seen an awful lot of their kit. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I haven't seen an awful lot of it. Certainly not in the UK.
I've got Ob.Homer on Instagram. He says Viper has evolved a lot in the past years. He said he's looking forward to meeting you in Portugal in November.
Yeah, and that is a work trip. I'm just getting that out there. That is a bona fide work trip.
And he's just got excited because the dogs appeared.
I know. Sorry,
I've locked the cats out, so any other animals that appear during the show, she's just excited now.
So this is our mutt Deefa dog, obviously. So and he's 15-month sprocker. So he hasn't taken up airsofting as yet. But we might try and get him some of those goggles that
goggles.
Yeah.
Going back to this point from Ophomer on Instagram, Viper have evolved a lot, because I can remember when I first started, I think it was Airsoft Action, I actually win like a Viper spending spree competition.
Yeah.
Back years ago, that must have been just as I was sort of really getting into Airsoft. That was my first loadout, was a Viper.
Yeah.
But it was great because it was free, but the quality, you could tell, wasn't quite there. And then
again, I think, and when you look at it, I think even your big end brands, that they still have items which you just go, well, for that money, I'd expected better of it. So 100%. And again, back then, it was the company was finding its feet and finding out about what factories were better than other factories. Whereas now we've got, with the factories that we have, we seem to have got rid of a lot of issues. Yeah, there's still stuff, but then, like anything that is, it's produced in big numbers. So there will always be a percentage that isn't as it should be. But again, from going around and seeing people and getting the returns that we get from either end users or from the dealers, it's now such a small percentage, and we're happy with that. We're happy that people have stuck with the brand, and there is a lot of brand loyalty out there. I
went away for
now.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I actually show that, Adam?
Yeah, show it.
Yeah. Sensitive. Okay. He said he still uses Viper kit now, and my personal sort of experience with Viper. That's one of your belts.
That's my duty belt.
Wow.
I use Viper because I've had that belt now. How long have I been in? 10 years.
Crikey.
That's 10 years old, that belt.
Wow.
I had very much sort of the same experience as Richard Cooper in the comments here. Like, the first cheap chest rig was just a cheap thing I found on the internet, because I was running a LCT AK for years, and that was all I had.
Yeah.
But when I started buying a couple more AR platforms, I got a TM416, and that, I was like, I wanted something different. And someone said to me, give Viper another go. So I actually went out and I brought in almost every colour the Viper chest rigs.
Oh, brilliant.
Because you've got your pistol pouches. I brought props tonight. You've got your pistol pouches there. The Velcro is very overlapped.
Like a show and tell.
I've just realised Alex, who came to our private game, the lad I used to work with in a bar, can't do Velcro up for shit, because look at the state of that. But you can put a couple of grenades in it. You can put your mags in it. You've got a couple of little pouches for admin stuff and that as well. So it was like, for me, that was a good starting point.
If your mate Alex has done that with Velcro, is he actually allowed to drive? Or...
Do you know the worst part of it? He fucking sells cars for a living.
Oh, bloody hell.
Although they are Audis, I think. So.
Oh, well. So indicators optional extra then.
Can't hold it against
it.
Yeah. I used the chest rigs for years and years and years, and then it was the Depot charity event. When Jet and Leah flew over for those 2 weeks, I went up to the Depot, and I actually won in the the VCAM. Sorry, not multicam, VCAM. Use the correct terms. One of the plate carriers, and I actually ended up going out and buying one in the green after it, and I've still used it to this day.
I'll say that's what you wear.
Every time.
Brilliant. I was going to say, I wear this pretty much. I've still got the multicam one or VCAM one, but it hasn't got my com set up on it, so I tend not to wear it that much anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I was put off. I've got BBs wedged in there as well. You can see them on the camera.
Oh yeah.
But I've sort of said, like, for the price point, it's a good chest rig, or plate carrier, sorry, and the versatility of that platform. You can have it as just a chest rig, or you can have it set up like I've got with. The PTT alone probably costs more than that entire setup, but that's beside the point.
I mean, the VX range for us, I say that had come out when I had my sort of 3-year sabbatical. But that has been, I think, a game changer for Viper. In terms of it proves how versatile the kit is, and the quality on that is phenomenal.
I like how modular it is.
Yeah, and that's something that, and we're still basing stuff onto that now, because there's still lots more that can be done with that as a base platform. So yeah, the VX range, and we've now adopted the VX series into other things. We've just launched or recently launched a new tactical glove called the VX glove, and so the VX now is almost a bit like an AMG, if you like, in the Mercedes range. I mean, it's becoming its own separate brand.
It's almost like a bit more premium.
Yeah. So yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
Richard's here saying you don't need to spend warrior cry money on kit to play airsoft. People, if they want to go out and spend that sort of money on kit, they're insane, but they can do it.
Yeah,
but why would you go and spend, say, 300, 400 quid on a plate carrier when you can get that set up for half the price?
Yeah. So funny enough, I was at an event last Sunday at HQ Airsoft up in Hull.
Yeah,
and
Ian was giving you a shout out earlier. Ian Maxwell.
Oh, cool. Oh, bless him. So yeah, it was a great event, like 180 players plus. And one of the lads I was talking to there, serving. There was a group of 4. 2 of them were still serving, infantry as well. So you just go. So if there's people testing kit out to destruction, it's an infantryman, isn't it? Anyway, and he was, and his words were, "I fucking love Viper kit." He said, and he'd got, I think he got his issue boots on. He'd got a pair of jeans on. He'd got a special op, one of our Viper special ops sort of U-back shirts on, and then he got a VX plate carrier that he'd got added. And he said, "This is all I wear for airsoft." He said, "And I've actually bought some Viper stuff that I put on my work kit." He said, and as long as nobody knows it's Viper, he said, and nobody cares. He said, as long as it does the job. So again, that's testament to the fact that somebody that uses high value kit on a daily basis goes with Viper for his leisure time, and uses elements of Viper kit in his day-to-day job as well, which will get put through a ringer. And you just go again. You walk away from that, and you sort of just go, yes, we are doing something right. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple of guys here on Instagram saying the VX range was really a game changer, turned a lot of heads towards the brand, and the VX buckle up range is perfect, even matches the gun bags too, which I use one of the soft bags as well. I've got my hard cases, and then I can carry something else in a soft case, because, as Adam and AD will tell you, I always bring far too many bits of kit to the game, because everything breaks down on me.
Yeah,
everything does break down on me, so I need to bring that much. What was it? I had something like 5 rifles with me at the private game just to lend kit out to people as well.
Yeah, but you've got spares for spares. So.
Yeah. Well, I do have to do that.
Yeah, and again, that is born out of years of airsofting, of going, I've done that, I've got no guns left. It's born out of that. So you prep and prep and prep.
Funnily enough, that mistake was HQ, and as you know, because I don't live a million miles away from you.
Yeah.
The distances involved in that, and when you get up there with only one gun and it goes down on you, it ruins your day, because it got to the point they were willing to let me go, but I said, "Nah, fuck it, I've had enough now," because everything I brought was gone down on me.
Yeah. So again, funnily enough, at HQ, obviously we don't sell direct to the public. When I'm at shows and events, I'm always supporting a retailer or the site shop or whatever. So my job is, if I'm showcasing an event, is to sort of show people what the kit is, what it's capable of, and then guide them to the shop and just go, and you can buy it from there and pass them over to that. So a guy walks up to me. This is after the safety brief, and this is where they get it's a boots only site. So if you're not wearing boots, you're not going out and playing. Anyway, this lad turned up. He said, "Yeah, driven all the way from Cambridgeshire, and I forgot my boots.
Oh no!
He said, "Have you got?" He said, "Have you got the Venom boots in size 9?" He said, "I wear Venom." He said, "My Venom boots are sitting by my front door at home." He said, "Have you got a pair of Venoms in size 9?" I said, "Yeah, I've got a pair on display here." So I took them off display, handed them over to the shop, and they did the deal. So, but yeah. So he'd spent 3.5 hours driving up to a site, got everything else, forgot his boots.
Dan Chesney saying, "So what is the next groundbreaking product from Viper that everyone must buy? Give spoilers."
All of it.
I mean, obviously, I don't know what you've got tied up and whatnot, but if there is anything you have that you can tease people with,
I haven't got any. So, the big governors have just come back from a trip, seeing the factories out in China. So we've got a lot of our R&D samples are with them for waiting on a final production sample to come back from them. So I don't have anything here, and that's not a cop out. I just don't.
You're let down.
However, that we're as we were saying, the VX range, there may be some expansion and some items appearing in that. And not just little add-on items, maybe some big items to go within the VX range. Something that I identified probably last year, and much as it's not my personal thing, the more I go out to games and shops and that lot, the more I see it's a thing, is HPA. So yeah, I know, yeah.
I'm HPA positive.
I get it. I get why people go to HPA. It's just not for me, and that's again the joys of Airsoft. There's something for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're looking
at HPA bottle in a Viper, the backpack.
Yeah, so we've identified the fact that a lot of people are doing that, but that's quite a layout for something just to put a gas bottle in.
Yeah.
So we have done a couple of HPA tank pouch designs. So that they're out there at the moment. So I wait to see what they come back as.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
Ian Maxwell's saying we need fat boy sizes.
Okay, and again, I hear this all the time, and being I've just in the last year I've lost 6 stone, not just so I can get into the kit I'm meant to be selling. That wasn't the ulterior motive. However, again, I know that and see the fact that a lot of airsofters are, and not just airsofters, but the country itself is we are all a lot bigger than we were 20 years ago. And I don't just mean you were 6 when you were 20 years ago, but as a nation, as humans, we are a lot bigger than we were. And
I think half of it as well is like in the Far East, where a lot of this kit is manufactured, the people are genuinely a lot smaller.
Yeah. So obviously, certainly with our leg length, the leg lengths are fine, and our trousers are pretty true to a European size. In the elite trousers, we only go up to a 42, but in the PCS trousers, which are like your normal style combat trouser out the knee pads and whatnot, we do them from a 28 up to a 52. So
that's quite impressive.
So hang on a second.
Oh, he's got props.
Yeah. So these are PCS trousers in the VCAM black. I knew you said multicam. Then that's me getting a no tea and biscuits chat tomorrow. So so in VCAM black. So we did the PCS trousers in those because again we see that VCAM black as a colour is going to be here to stay because it's been adopted quite widely in the real world. So we expanded our range of pouches and accessories and plate carriers in the VCAM black, and it seemed mad not to do standard pair of trousers as well as
because you get people that want all of their kit matching, don't you?
Yeah, and even to the point of you don't want to mix actual brands. So because our VCAM black, the one of the shades will be different to fill in the blank another brand version of
yes, like I know those trousers wouldn't go with say my Emerson gear
No,
multicam black shirt.
Yeah. So again,
But do I care?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. A lot of people don't care because they're running around shooting the crap out of people. But other people, they've got to look right as well, haven't they?
Yeah,
And again,
Exactly.
Yeah, I say that I want to look right, and then I just end up wearing jeans and a t-shirt most of the time.
Yeah. Well, and then getting the camo gear to go down the pub in. Yeah.
Are there any other colours or patterns on the horizon? Is another question we've had in.
Oh, crikey! So again, it was a question I was talking about. I was talking about this afternoon, and again, whether it's because we're in the UK and there's always a time lapse with stuff. And airsoft is very fashionable, isn't it? There's stuff that comes and goes. Like we're just saying about the VCAM Black. Initially, they only did a very certain range of VCAM Black items because we thought it's got a lifespan and then it'll be gone. But it's like I said,
as a company, you don't want to invest in the colour if it's going to go out of fashion in 6 months.
So by the time we've sourced the material, got it into the factory, even if we're just making a cut that we already do, by the time they've fitted it into the production schedule and then we've shipped it, you're 7-8 months down the road, and everybody's moved on to the next thing.
Do jungle tiger stripe,
thanks, Mr. Walker.
I'd get a set of that.
That is a colour I do keep asking about, is tiger stripe, because again I've seen that an awful lot in big quantities going around various games and I love tiger stripe. I used to love desert tiger stripe as well, but I've got no hope for that. But
Andy loves Greek lizard.
Yeah, Greek lizard camo. That's my thing. That's my jam at the moment. The Greek lizard.
Oh, crikey. Well, somebody said to me last week about rhodesian. Oh my good God.
It's an obscure one, isn't it?
However, we are, again, with the new gloves that we've done, that I was showing you earlier. This is a new green that we're trialing. It's called Active Green, which is our take on Adaptive Green.
Okay.
Because again, we're sort of hearing possibilities of this may become quite a mainstream.
Where's the padding in them? Do you say Osman bit?
So with those, it's a gel knuckle.
Yeah.
And it's sort of underneath so it doesn't look quite as aggressive as the Elite gloves. Yeah. But it's really ultra lightweight. And with these as well, you've not only got all your grip pads and everything, you can work all your smart devices and that with them as well, which is the first for us to have a glove that you can do that. And even that the thumb is like a suede effect, which I thought, I wonder what that's for. But apparently, so I've been informed by the powers that be, that when you're wearing your iPro and it's a hot day, you can just mop your brow with it. I think, however, in the UK with the weather we have, you're most likely to be wiping your snot off your nose on it. But there you go.
Well, I don't know. You go to a 2-day event, it'll be one day and one the next. The way it is here at the moment.
Or it won't be because Andy just likes to go home if it's raining.
So I'm hoping that we'll be doing more in the adaptive green as we go down, or active green as we go down the road, maybe into the Elite Gen 2 trousers and that. So that's one that we're looking at for sure.
Of course, the Nemtech guys appear on Instagram saying, "Make Rhodesian brush stroke, please."
Honestly, if I show you the list of all the camo patterns, I'll get asked, when you're going to do this, when you're going to do that. Honestly, it'd be like one of those Jane's reference book of camos. Our warehouse would just be full of trousers and shirts in different camos. But the danger is you'd be sitting on them in 15 years' time. So and unfortunately, and it goes back to the sizing thing. It is like any business, you have to look at what's your popular sizes. And so yes, we're all fully in agreement the fact that there are a lot of large guys who play airsoft, and we could cater for that. But again, with where we have to MOQ from the factory, if we ordered 100 pairs or 200 pairs, whatever the MOQ would be, we could be sat on them for 3 to 5 years, and from a business point of view, you can't sort of sit on high levels of stock for long periods of time. And it's gutting to that, because again, I do, from a personal point of view, I think there is a place for it, but it just comes down to the manufacturing and and it's not even down to the money, because again, if you're a larger guy and you're having to buy a 5XL t-shirt, you accept the fact that 5XL t-shirt is going to be cost you more from that shop than the XL version, because there's for the simple reason there's more material and stuff. So so it's not even down to that. It just comes down to the fact, I think, of how much we have to order off the factories to MOQ it.
So we come to the last question of the night from the ghosts. What has been the best story from Airsoft that you have?
Nothing that I could repeat on this forum.
I was going to say, while you're here, actually, I mention it to some of the guys every now and again, actually, but one of my favourite moments from Airsoft actually was at Phoenix College, of all places.
Okay.
Because you came out of like the main building and there was like that covered walkway, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And there was the staircase. You had to go back on yourself and clear out the upstairs. And as I went up the stairs, a couple of our guys got engaged from one of the rooms. So I went bowling up the stairs, through a timed Dynatex, and they thought it was an impact. Running in going, your grenade ain't gone off, and then all of a sudden, boom, 5 people come walking out with their hands in the
air. Brilliant. So there's a guy, this was at Blue Streak, a guy called Brian, who him and his guys came up from Essex, and they used to come up. Sometimes in the end, we used to do private days for them.
Yeah, they were the guys that I came to Blue Streak with.
Yeah. Paul Harding and
Gary.
Gary. A big Chris. Yeah. So Brian on a normal game day, I'm trying to think what the exact number was at the end, but he did knife kills, and it was something like 11 knife kills in one game. Yeah, and he just snuck round. And Brian wasn't the smallest of guys, and he just snuck round. And I'm sure if Paul Harding's listening, he'll correct me on the exact number. But yeah, Brian did all these knife kills. So, and again, if you remember, we used to have a thing, again, tongue in cheek, where we did duck kills. So if you bought a rubber duck, you could either knife kill somebody or duck kill somebody. Okay, and if it was the first time that the duck had killed anybody, we did a naming ceremony after the game where we got the person that the duck had killed and the owner, and the duck would take on the name of the person who it had killed. So
I feel like this is something Craig would do.
Right.
It is.
So at Phoenix College, this bloke had and if you remember at Phoenix College, we had a proper like lecture theatre where we did all the briefings in.
Yeah.
So we stood up the front, and this guy, and there'd been a group of kids in playing that day, sort of 14, 15-year-old lads, and this bloke had duck killed all of these lads, right, in this game. So we did the naming ceremony, and I said, never mind the duck. I said, we need to think of a nickname for you after doing all these lads. And somebody just shouted out the back, pedo. No. Even with our dark sense of humour, we can't give somebody a nickname with pedo. So that was quite amusing. Back in the early days, again, when there was no health and safety at Greenham, the buildings were 2-story, so they had like 3 steps and then like a little small landing area, and then the rest of the staircase going up to the 2nd floor. Well, a guy had got in, and there was no mid caps or anything. It was all high caps. There was no FPS limits, no anything. So one of the guys was going up the staircase, got pinged. So he's come down, been hit. Somebody else goes up, bing, gets pinged. I've been hit. So we're like, where the hell's that coming from? And the guy had gone up into the loft space. Right. So we're like, cheeky bugger. So we're all trying to put cover and fire out and throw pyro up to try and get it into the loft access. So we're all trying to do this, and I don't think we really got that far, but there's smoke and everything. Anyway, the guy in the loft decided it was time for him to move position, which he did, and he didn't quite move position in the way he wanted to, because the next thing we knew was we saw 2 feet fell out through the plasterboard ceiling, hit the stairwell.
Oh,
Right, so he's landed on the stairs. We heard a snap, which I thought was his leg. It turned out to be his Tokyo Marui PSG1. So that
I'd rather it was my leg.
Yeah,
PSG1, no way.
So there was this snap, and then this body sort of started tumbling down onto the little half landing. So we all looked at him, like he's obviously a bit shocked and a bit battered. And there were like 4 of us, all with like XM177s or something like that, who just looked at him and then just drilled the living mother out of him with high cap mags. So yeah, it was definitely different times. Different times.
So just before we wrap up, my last question from you. Obviously, we had a scheduling conflict a little while back. We were meant to have you on a few weeks ago. I think it was actually when IWA was on, because you weren't going to IWA
That's
this
right.
year.
Yeah.
My thing here, and I'll be interested to get your thoughts. Do you feel like these shows like IWA, like SHOT Show, are dying in a sense because they're becoming more of a popularity thing rather than actually people going to find out the information?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that do a really good job at these things and will go and find out all the information and come back to you.
Yeah. I used to love going to IWA. It was a bit of a busman's holiday because we were going out and we do a lot of good business. This is not Viper. This is when I was at the shops. We do a lot of good business there. You'd meet up with people you haven't seen since last year because they're based in Denmark or Slovakia or wherever, and you may burn the candle at both ends for a few days, shall we say, and then spend a week. And then as you get older, the recovery time comes from 2 days to like 2 weeks. But I think and what we used to see was obviously IWA was specifically for the trade, for you to go and meet up with the distributors, see what new models were coming out, get the load down, get your orders in, work any deals out you were trying to do, and do that. But what we noticed was also over the years, more and more general public were coming in. So not guys like yourselves that are involved in the industry from a media perspective, but just players who were coming into a nose, and then obviously they were trying to buy kit, and you weren't allowed to buy. You weren't, the people there aren't supposed to sell kit to people. So it all, you were getting checked by security.
Lost a little bit.
Yeah, it lost that, and I think that IWA for us in the UK, obviously Viper has had an impact on our European business, but on top of that, with COVID, everybody got real tech savvy really quickly, so you can do all the deals and you can have the meetings over Zoom and Teams and everything else, and unless you really want to and they will send you a sample for you to have a look at and play to then have the meeting with. You don't necessarily need to spend that sort of money to go off and to demo your wares. From a Viper point of view, it was you took an awful lot of the workforce out of the office and out of the warehouse for quite an exorbitant amount of time, because we built our own stand over there, so we had to drive everything out, build it, do the show, then de-rig, and then drive it all back. But not only that, you then got the cost of housing and accommodating and feeding and watering all those people for that time. So and those costs haven't gone down any over the period of time. Nuremberg hotels, I'm sure they put the price up threefold the week that IWA's on, because
I think the cheapest Airbnb I managed to find before it got cancelled in 2020 was €157, which was a bargain because it was right in the centre of Nuremberg as well. Yeah. But that was literally the only property I could find that was at a reasonable price. The rest it was like 300, €400.
Yeah. So I think from our point of view, because of we still have a lot of European customers. Don't get me wrong, but that we don't have as many as we did 4 years ago. And the fact that we can do most of our business now over Teams and everything else. And I think, again, I know somebody that went out there this year, and Nuremberg as a town has changed as well. not for the better. You know, there's a lot more people on the streets who are asking you, you know, almost money with menace as you're walking about and whatnot. So I think that's changed. But I think shows overall, I think have had it hard. You know, I think War and Peace show was the world's largest military vehicle show, and was a fantastic week. We used to do a week, but other big guys used to do War and Peace would be 2 or 3 weeks for them. You know, with all the business that they did. I think the demise of that was, from my point of view, was down to greed from the new owners, because they knew what a golden egg having that show was, but and what people were paying for it, and all they did to try and do that was charge you more to give you a lot less, and people eventually just go, no,
which is kind of like the UK shooting show, isn't it? When that's on, the plot prices are just astronomical.
Yeah. So also when the British shooting show, they combined it with they call it the British Airsoft show, didn't they, at the same time, when it was at Stoneleigh?
Yeah.
And we paid, I think the last time we did it, I think our pitch was about 1,200 quid for the 2 days, plus you were allowed to set up on the day. And when we got and we were treated like third-class citizens, because, you know, the likes of Browning and Tactric, you know, 511 and people like that were in the nice carpeted halls, and we were in the cattle sheds, which had been used the previous week as a car park for you know, for young farmers association or something. So there was no heating, you know, and so during the evening, because a lot of us slept on our own pitches, because the previous year there'd been a load of theft off stands, probably from the security, but you never proven. So a lot of the guys would sleep on the stands, and it was come 6 o'clock, you were freezing.
Yeah.
So,
and were you allowed to sell at these?
Yeah. So this is when I was again at Badge Attack and that lot. So we were selling, and it, you know, but again, and although it's obviously now better, because the understanding of the VCR Act is a lot more. Yeah. Obviously, the amount of times we got called wankers, this and effing that, because we couldn't sell a guy an Airsoft, I know, P38, for example, when he's suddenly going, but I can shoot real guns, you know, I've got a proper, and I just go, mate.
Yeah, but you don't have a. He
has no defence under the VCR Act, and he just goes, it's like saying, I've got a car licence, but I can't drive a lorry. You know, it's the same thing. Yeah. And for the first few years when the VCR bill came, you just got abuse of all the shooters, all the shooting fraternity, which is funny now, because there's a lot of shooting fraternity that use Airsoft for its own purposes, you know. So it's a funny old game how it's all turned on its head.
Cool. I think we'll call it a night there. So where can people see you in upcoming events, and where can people find you online, Ian?
Okay, so obviously, again, like I was saying, Viper doesn't sell direct to the public. We have our own resource site, so if you want to look at products, or we have a stockist locator on there, is to go to viperkit.co.uk. So that's our resource site. Obviously, there are lots of retailers around the UK which stock Viper. So if you've got a local, if you know your local stockist or your local site stocks it, then obviously they'll be able to order whatever it is that you were after. So even if they don't have it in stock there and then. I mean,
what I used to do is I'd go on the Viper website, have a look for what exactly it was I wanted.
Yeah.
Copy and paste the name into Google, and then find a retailer that sold it.
Yeah.
And that worked perfect for me.
There's all that. So shows and that we're at. So next weekend we're at Shifty Rift at Dalton Barracks.
And I'm banned from playing Airsoft at the moment. Otherwise, I would have been there.
Are you at the Midlands Airsoft Fair?
Yeah. So in between that, so
me and Ellie will see you there.
Next weekend is Shifty Rift. the 1st of June, we will be at BZ Fest up in Stockton-on-Tees.
Oh yeah.
And he's definitely gone.
That's a good day. The boys up there are absolutely cracking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't wangle that one 2 days before my wedding.
No, I can see how that might not go down too well. and then we're at the Midlands. We're at the Midlands Airsoft Fair on June the 9th.
Yeah, we'll be there. So me and Ailey will see you there.
Yeah. So again,
I'll see what I can do.
There's lots of Viper stockists that will be going to there in their different guises. You've got Matt from Ammo Drop. I think Super 5 will be up there. So Surefire Airsoft. So there'll be loads of brands. There'll be loads of companies up there that we supply. And then after that, I'm doing one at 6mm in Birmingham on June the 23rd. That's with HC2 Retail.
Oh yeah.
Paul up there's a great lad.
Yeah, he's good lad, Paul.
Yeah. He makes me chuckle. So we're doing that with him, and then in July, the first weekend in July, we're doing the UK Airsoft Ladies event at Skirmish Wickham, which is just down the road from me. So
I was going to say that's a nice, easy journey for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I might try and sneak home and get back into a proper bed.
Don't blame you.
Yeah. If there'll be room, because whenever I go away, the missus always ends up with the dog and our youngest in bed. So I'll probably have to go. Yeah. So yeah, we got that, and then there's something else in July, but I can't remember what that is off the top of my head. And then we got NAF. So yeah, and there. I was speaking to Paul from AI on Tuesday, so there is potentially another AI 500 happening later on in the year, but I've got no other details on that as yet.
Oh, you little tease!
It's like you know me. So yeah, that's so we are proactive about being on the road, and again, from a personal point of view, I'm really passionate about supporting events and supporting the retailers, because in this day and age, you know, the retailers, and certainly some of the more localized retailers do need the support of the players, from just going and buying, you know, the cheapest one online or wherever. You know, they do need your support, because what happens is if you don't support them, when you just go, I'll just nip down to so and so because I need some BBs for tomorrow. Guess what? They're no longer there because you haven't looked after them. So you know, it is important to support the community, and that's, you know, we're very big on that, and looking after the retailers and doing what we can to make it as good an experience for everybody.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you know where to find me, Adam and Ailey by now, and Kerry, even though she's not here.
Outrage.
Because her internet went full potato tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell her I'll take it personally.
Yeah. She's probably still there loitering somewhere. You insulted Norfolk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's
go on.
That's right. I was just going to say that's it from us for this week. So
well, guys,
thank you very much for your time, Ian.
No, thank you for having me on. It's been a real blast, and you know, I'm more than happy to come back on at some point if and I am now going to have to walk out the room and swear like a trooper for the next 15 minutes because I've been so good.
That's fine. You can use it when we go offline. You can stay in. And you can F and blind all you like.
I'm just thinking of that TikTok thing where it's like, oh, and then it just goes beep 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 beep. But yeah, no. Thanks again for your time, and anything we can do to help support Viper. And
no, well, you know, obviously we'll see each other and we'll work closely. So yeah, let's.
I always make an effort to come and say hi when I see you.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for listening and putting up with my drolling on, and let's all keep the faith and keep this great sport going, and don't let anything kibosh it.
Cool. And in the meantime, guys, we will see you in. It's on a Wednesday next time, isn't it? Oh. Yeah, we're doing it on a Wednesday. In 2 weeks' time. Wednesday the 29th, we will be back with Mr. Vortex himself.
Ooh.
Finally, at long last.
I've managed to pin him down.
He's only been promising me for the last 4 years.
Oh, crikey. So a lot more elusive than I've been then. Yeah.
But other than that, guys, we'll speak to you in 2 weeks' time. So take care of yourself, take your hits, look after each other, and don't be a